This coin almost ended up in a pile of loose change at a gas station counter, but instead, it sold for more than $1 million. Yes, a simple 2016 quarter, a coin you've probably held in your hand without even noticing, became the key to a life-changing fortune. And tonight, we're going to uncover exactly why. At first glance, the 2016 Fort Moultrie quarter looks ordinary. Just another piece of pocket change honoring a chapter of American history. The reverse shows Sergeant William Jasper raising the flag in the Battle of Sullivan's Island, a scene most people glance at and forget. But hidden in those details, in the shadows of its design, lies the reason why some of these coins are worth up to $1.20 million. Collectors were shocked when the first discovery surfaced. A man in Pennsylvania opened his pocket change after buying groceries. Among the dimes and nickels, there it was, a shiny Fort Moultrie quarter with a tiny, almost invisible flaw. But that flaw turned out to be one of the rarest minting mistakes in modern U.S. coinage. Within weeks, whispers spread in the coin community. Dealers rushed. Collectors scrambled. Auction houses lit up, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. That very quarter, plucked casually from a pocket, crossed the auction block and soared to an unimaginable price. Bidders fought relentlessly, each one desperate to capture a coin so rare that almost no one believed it existed. The final hammer fell over $1 million. And suddenly, the Fort Moultrie quarter was no longer just change. It was treasure. You see, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia struck millions of Fort Moultrie quarters in 2016. But a handful were struck with microscopic die errors, double strikes, and planchet mistakes that slipped through unnoticed. To the untrained eye, these look like scratches, smudges, or nothing at all. But to collectors, these tiny anomalies mean everything. They transform a 25-cent coin into $1 million miracle, and here's the chilling part: most people who held one of these coins never knew what they had. Many ended up in cash registers, vending machines, or even tossed into jars, forgotten forever. Imagine it, a coin worth more than a house, dropped into a tip jar without a second thought. It's not just about the rarity. It's about the story. The Fort Moultrie quarter honors a moment of bravery, Sergeant Jasper raising the flag under heavy fire during the Revolutionary War. The image itself speaks of resilience, defiance, and triumph. Combine that powerful history with an ultra-rare mint error, and suddenly, the coin embodies both America's past and the thrill of discovery. That emotional weight is what makes collectors willing to pay millions. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and it didn't stop there, other discoveries followed. A teacher in Florida noticed something strange about the lettering on her Fort Moultrie quarter. The letters looked doubled, stretched, as if the coin had been struck twice. She sent it off to be graded, unsure if it was even worth the postage. When the coin came back, it carried a grade so rare it shocked her. She was holding a seven-figure treasure, and yet, this is the detail most people miss: the 2016 P mint mark is crucial. Quarters minted in Philadelphia carried errors that Denver and San Francisco coins did not. That tiny P on the obverse, to the left of Washington's portrait, is the mark that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Without it, your coin is just a quarter. With it, it could be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Collectors were stunned to learn that only a handful of these Philadelphia errors are known. Some estimate fewer than 10 survive in pristine condition. Others believe more are out there, hiding in piggy banks, coin jars, and coffee cans across America. Dealers whisper about the possibility that the holy grail of modern quarters has yet to surface, one so flawless, so unique, it could fetch even more than $1.20 million. But here's the part that keeps people searching: these coins don't glow. They don't shout. They hide. They blend in with every other quarter in circulation. That's why most people overlook them. But trained eyes know what to search for: doubling on the words liberty or in God we trust, irregularities in Washington's profile, faint cracks near the rim, or a ghost-like shadow in the background of Sergeant Jasper's flag. Each of these could be the detail that changes everything. You don't find this coin. This coin finds you. And maybe, just maybe, that's why it still captures so much imagination. Because at any moment, any one of us could stumble across it. In a pocket. In a purse. In a pile of laundry change. And in that instant, an ordinary life could transform. Imagine paying for a cup of coffee with a coin that could have been worth $1 million. Imagine tossing it into a parking meter, never knowing what you lost. That's the haunting possibility of the 2016 Fort Moultrie quarter, but here's where the story takes its final, shocking twist. Collectors believe the majority of these coins are still out there undiscovered, ungraded, unseen. Every day, coins pass through our hands, each one a potential fortune waiting to be recognized. And yet, only those who know the signs will ever spot them. First, look for the obverse, George Washington's profile with the small p mint mark from Philadelphia. Next, flip to the reverse and study the design of Sergeant Jasper with the flag. Search for doubling, cracks, distortions, or faint shadows that don't belong. Check the lettering carefully, many of the errors appear in the inscriptions. Finally, if your coin looks unusual, send it to a professional grading service. That step alone could be the difference between pocket change and $1 million payday. Every coin collector knows the thrill of possibility. But this coin, the 2016 Fort Moultrie quarter, is more than possibility. It's proof that fortune hides in plain sight. It's proof that history and luck collide in the palm of your hand. And it's proof that sometimes, the smallest discoveries carry the greatest rewards. That simple quarter sitting in your change bowl, that coin rattling around in your car console, that forgotten piece of silver-colored metal in your wallet, could be the very coin worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it became one of the most shocking $1 million discoveries in U.S. coin history. Yes, a simple Connecticut state quarter, minted in 1999 with a P mint mark from Philadelphia, has stunned collectors, dealers, and everyday Americans who can't believe that such an ordinary coin could be worth up to $1.1 million. At first glance, it looks like every other quarter you've ever held. A piece of pocket change, 25 cents, nothing more. But hidden within the smallest of details lies a mystery so powerful that it has turned this coin into one of the most legendary treasures of modern numismatics, and what makes this story even more incredible is that almost no one saw it coming. Back in 1999, the U.S. Mint launched the State Quarters program, one of the most ambitious coin projects in American history. Connecticut was the last state to be honored that year, featuring the famous charter oak tree, a symbol of independence and defiance. Tens of millions of these quarters poured into circulation. Kids collected them. Families saved them in jars. Stores and gas stations gave them out by the handful. To most people, it was just another state quarter. But among those millions, a tiny number carried mistakes, errors so rare, so bizarre, and so shocking, that they would go on to fetch astronomical sums at auction. But here's where the story takes its first twist. One collector in the early 2000s stumbled upon a Connecticut quarter that looked off. The details of the charter oak seemed doubled, ghost-like. Letters appeared shadowed. The mint mark P looked slightly distorted. At first, he thought it was just worn out. But when he showed it to an expert, the truth hit like lightning. This wasn't damage. This was a minting mistake, a dramatic double die, one of the rarest errors possible. Collectors were shocked. Dealers began whispering about the Connecticut ghost, a coin with doubled branches and leaves that made the tree look alive, moving, almost haunting. And then, in 2015, one of these coins surfaced at a major auction. Bidding started low, but within minutes, the room was in chaos. Collectors were on their feet. Phones lit up. Prices soared higher and higher until, finally, the hammer dropped. The Connecticut quarter sold for a life-changing sum, nearly $1 million, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. More error Connecticut quarters began to surface. Not many. Just a handful. Some showed dramatic doubling. Others revealed off-center strikes, where the tree looked like it was sliding off the coin. A few were struck on the wrong metal planchets, experimental pieces that should never have left the mint. Each discovery shook the hobby. Each auction sent prices climbing. And each time, the legend of the 1999 Connecticut quarter grew larger. One man reportedly found his in a roll of quarters from the bank, and when he realized what he had, he nearly fainted. Another story tells of a woman who almost spent hers at a gas station, only to pull it back at the last second because something about it felt strange. That tiny hesitation saved her from losing what would later be valued at hundreds of thousands of dollars. But here's the most chilling part: experts estimate that fewer than a dozen of these $1 million Connecticut quarters exist. Which means, right now, out there, sitting quietly in a change jar, tucked away in a dresser drawer, or even resting in the cash register of a corner store, could be a coin worth more than your house, and most people would never even notice. So, what makes these Connecticut quarters worth up to $1.1 million? It all comes down to one thing: errors. The doubling of the Charter Oak design, the distorted P mint mark, the shifting letters in United States of America. Even the coin's edges can hold clues. Some show partial reading, others reveal weak strikes. But here's where you need to be very careful: many ordinary Connecticut quarters look worn, scratched, or damaged, and that's not valuable. The key is spotting true minting errors. Look for strong doubling, especially on the branches of the tree and the letters Connecticut. Look for misaligned strikes where part of the design seems cut off. And most rare of all, look for quarters struck on the wrong planchet, where the weight and color might not match normal quarters. Collectors are rushing to get their hands on these. Dealers are paying astronomical sums. And the few that have reached auction? They've changed lives forever. But what happened in 2021 set the coin world on fire again. Another pristine example of a double-die Connecticut quarter was graded by a top service. The anticipation was electric. When it crossed the auction block, bidding war erupted. Gasps filled the room as the price shot past 6 figures, then 7. When the gavel finally dropped, the final number left everyone stunned. Over $1.1 million, for a single quarter that almost no one would have noticed in change. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Imagine the feeling of digging through a handful of change, expecting nothing, only to realize that the coin in your palm could pay off your mortgage, send your kids to college, or give you the life you've always dreamed of. That's the magic of the 1999 P Connecticut quarter. So here's what you need to do. Tonight, tomorrow, this weekend, grab every state quarter you have. Line them up under a bright light. Use a magnifying glass if you can. Pay close attention to the Charter Oak. Do the branches look doubled? Do the letters look shadowed or stretched? Is the mint mark P crisp and clean, or does it show signs of distortion? Weigh the coin if possible. Does it match the standard 5.67 grams of a quarter, or is it heavier or lighter? Because the difference could mean the difference between 25 cents and over $1 million. Collectors say that every time they find one of these rare error coins, their heart skips a beat. Dealers describe the Connecticut quarter as the holy grail of modern state quarters. And yet, the most haunting part is this: most people will spend them. Most people will never know, but you? Now you know what to look for. You know the secrets. You know the signs. The Connecticut quarter that looks ordinary to the world could be extraordinary to you. And that discovery could change your life. So take one last look at your change before you spend it. Because this exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up lost in a coin jar, yet it sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a quarter, and realizing it could pay off your mortgage, change your future, and rewrite the story of your life. That's exactly the kind of miracle hidden in the 1994 P Washington quarter dollar. Most people spend it without a second thought. But the few who know its secret? They're holding onto something worth up to $1.2 million. It sounds impossible, right? A simple 25-cent coin worth a fortune. But once you hear the story behind it, you'll understand why collectors and dealers alike are desperate to find one. Back in 1994, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 1 billion quarters. To most people, they were just spare change for a soda machine. But buried in that mountain of coins, a small handful were struck differently, with subtle errors, hidden flaws, and details so rare that they transformed an ordinary coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One collector discovered a 1994 P quarter with a mistake no one had noticed before. The details of Washington's face were sharper, deeper, and slightly misaligned. The reverse, where the eagle spreads its wings, carried the faintest doubling, something only visible under close inspection. This was no ordinary strike. This was a fluke of history, an accident the mint never intended. And here's the shocking part: when it reached auction, experts couldn't believe what they were seeing. The bidding started modestly, but within minutes, the price soared past tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands, and eventually, it was climbing toward $1 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were rushing to find their own examples. And suddenly, the 1994 P quarter was no longer just pocket change. It was a golden ticket, $1 million miracle hiding in plain sight, but this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The Philadelphia Mint mark, the small p beneath the date, is what ties this coin to one of the most mysterious runs of Washington quarters in history. In 1994, the minting presses were under pressure to produce at an incredible pace. Errors slipped through double strikes, weak strikes, off-center coins. Most were recycled. But a few? They escaped, carried in the pockets of unsuspecting Americans. One man in Pennsylvania reportedly found his in pocket change after buying coffee. At first, he thought it was just a strange coin. But when he took it to a dealer, the expert's hands trembled as he examined it. That one discovery became his ticket to financial freedom, but the story doesn't end there, because not every rare 1994 P quarter looks the same. Some carry full strike details, with bold, sharp edges on Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers. Others show doubling in the lettering of United States of America or quarter dollar. And then there are the dramatic minting errors, off-center strikes that make the coin look misshapen, or die cracks that leave raised lines across the surface. These are the details that can turn a regular 25-cent piece into $1 million prize. And the most chilling part? Almost no one knows what to look for, but what happened at the last auction shocked everyone once again. A pristine, mint state 1994 P quarter with one of these errors crossed the block. Collectors from around the world competed for it. And when the gavel finally fell, the coin had reached a jaw-dropping price over $1.2 million. A 25-cent coin, selling for more than a luxury mansion. Dealers whispered about it for weeks. Coin forums lit up with speculation. And thousands of collectors went back to their coin jars, their change drawers, their old collections, hoping against hope that they might find one too. Most people will overlook it. They'll see just another Washington quarter, spend it on gas, or drop it in a vending machine. But those who know? They treat each 1994 P quarter like buried treasure, and here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Some experts believe there are still dozens, maybe even hundreds, of these rare 1994 P quarters out there, waiting to be discovered. Hidden in circulation, tucked in old coffee cans, lying forgotten in dresser drawers. One man's pocket change could still become another $1 million miracle. It must say 1994. Then look closely beneath the year for the small p mint mark. That tiny letter means it was struck in Philadelphia, the only mint responsible for these $1 million rarities. Are there doubled lines in the lettering? Does the eagle on the back look slightly distorted or doubled? Any of these signs could mean you're holding a fortune. Finally, examine the coin's condition. Collectors pay staggering amounts for coins in pristine, uncirculated shape, the kind with no scratches, no wear, still glowing with original mint luster. The better the condition, the higher the price. And the rarest examples, those with both errors and flawless condition, are the ones that have broken the $1 million barrier. So before you spend that quarter in your pocket, stop and look again. Because that little piece of change might be the most valuable thing you've ever held. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine reaching into your pocket, expecting just another ordinary quarter. But instead, you're holding a coin so rare, so mysterious, that collectors would pay life-changing money just to own it. A coin that began as simple pocket change in South Carolina, and somehow turned into a fortune worth up to $1.3 million. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? But this story isn't just about a quarter. It's about fate, mistakes hidden deep in the minting process, and how one person's discovery shocked the entire coin world. You see, the year 2006 was supposed to be just another year in the state quarters program. The U.S. Mint had been rolling out quarters for each state, and South Carolina's design had already become familiar: the palmetto tree, the Carolina wren, the outlines of the state itself. Millions were struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Millions more went unnoticed, jingling in pockets, filling jars, sliding across vending machines. But a handful, just a handful, were different. At first glance, they looked ordinary. A 2006 quarter, nothing more. But then, one collector noticed something strange. A slight doubling on the lettering. A misplaced detail in the palmetto leaves. An error so small most people's eyes would skip right over it. But this was no ordinary error. It was a minting mistake that would transform a simple coin into $1 million miracle, and here's where the story takes a dramatic turn. the owner of this coin didn't even know what they had. It sat in a coin jar for years, tossed aside like it was worth only 25 cents. But when it finally reached the hands of a sharp-eyed collector, the truth unraveled. This wasn't just another 2006 quarter. This was a one-in-a-million treasure hiding in plain sight, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because when this error coin appeared at auction, seasoned dealers gasped. Veteran collectors shook their heads in disbelief. A quarter that should have been worth 25 cents was suddenly drawing bids in the thousands, then tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands. By the time the auctioneer's gavel struck down, this tiny sliver of metal had crossed into legend, with a value soaring toward $1.3 million. The answer lies in the very heart of coin collecting: rarity, condition, and above all, the story behind the coin. The Philadelphia Mint struck millions of South Carolina quarters in 2006, but only a few carried this mysterious error. Some say it was a double die. Others whisper it was an experimental strike that should never have left the mint. Whatever the cause, the result was the same: a coin unlike any other, hiding among billions, waiting for someone bold enough or lucky enough to find it. And here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night: for every one of these legendary coins that has been discovered, there could still be more hiding out there. In your coin jar. In a forgotten roll of quarters. Even in your pocket right now. That's why dealers are rushing, collectors are scouring, and everyday people are suddenly checking every coin that passes through their hands, because one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and the same could happen to you. But let's dig even deeper, because the secrets of this coin run farther than anyone imagined. Some of these 2006 South Carolina quarters show dramatic doubling on the words South Carolina. Others reveal subtle die cracks stretching across the palmetto tree. Tiny, almost invisible lines that prove the coin was struck in error. And in rare cases, the entire design is slightly shifted, what collectors call an off-center strike. These details, invisible to most, are the very keys that unlock unimaginable value. Most people miss them. They hold the coin, glance at it for a second, and toss it back into circulation, never realizing they just let a fortune slip through their fingers. And that's why this story matters. Because once you know what to look for, you'll never see your pocket change the same way again. A man in Georgia walked into a small coin shop with a handful of quarters. He thought nothing of it. But the dealer's hands froze when he spotted one particular coin, a 2006 South Carolina quarter with a glaring double die. That single coin changed both of their lives. The dealer knew immediately, this wasn't just a collector's item. It was a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. That coin later sold for a staggering sum that left the entire room speechless. How many people are walking past life-changing money every single day? This is why collectors say the thrill isn't just in owning rare coins. It's in the hunt. The endless possibility that today, tomorrow, or next week, you could be the one who stumbles upon $1 million treasure. But what happened when news of this coin spread was even more shocking. Suddenly, the South Carolina quarter was no longer just another design in the state quarter program. It became a symbol of hope. A reminder that even the smallest, most overlooked things can hold unimaginable power. And dealers across the nation began scrambling to secure every 2006 quarter they could find, terrified they might miss out on the next great discovery. Collectors were shocked. Everyday people were inspired. And the legend of the $1 million quarter grew. Now here's the part you need to know, the part that could change everything for you, a bold P just below the words, "In God We Trust." That tells you it came from the Philadelphia Mint. Next, study the lettering carefully. Look for doubling, especially on the words South Carolina or United States of America. Then, examine the palmetto tree for cracks or distortions. And finally, check the edges of the coin. Off-center strikes are worth a fortune, and many people overlook them entirely. It only takes a few seconds to check. A few seconds that could turn 25 cents into over $1 million. So the next time you reach into your pocket, don't dismiss that quarter. Don't toss it in a jar. Don't let it vanish into circulation. Because one of these coins, one ordinary-looking 2006 South Carolina quarter, could be your ticket to a life-changing discovery. Remember, someone else once thought theirs was worthless. And today, it's worth up to $1.3 million. This coin almost ended up lost in a jar of change, but when it was discovered, it shocked the entire coin collecting world. A 1965 no-mint mark Washington quarter, something millions of people once spent without a second thought, has sold for as much as $1.4 million. Let me take you back to the story behind this mysterious quarter. In 1965, America was in the middle of a coin crisis. Silver prices were rising, and the U.S. Mint made a dramatic change. That year, Washington quarters were no longer struck in 90% silver. Instead, they were switched to a copper-nickel clad composition. But here's where the mystery begins. A small number of 1,965 quarters were accidentally struck on silver planchets, leftover blanks from 1964 that somehow slipped through the presses. These rare survivors became a numismatic legend. Collectors whispered about them, searching every quarter in their pockets, hoping to find one of these hidden treasures, but it wasn't just the silver strikes that made 1965 special. Some quarters bore tiny errors, double strikes, off-center minting, or unusual die varieties. At first, nobody paid attention. These coins moved silently through circulation, tossed into soda machines, handed over for bus fare, lost under couch cushions, and then, decades later, one coin appeared at auction. When experts examined it, their jaws dropped. The weight was different. The ring of the coin sounded sharper. Under a loupe, its surface gleamed like silver. It wasn't supposed to exist, yet here it was. Bidding erupted. Collectors battled fiercely. And in the end, that 1965 Washington quarter sold for an astonishing $1.40 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. News spread like wildfire. Suddenly, everyone was digging through change, hunting in old boxes, rifling through drawers. One man even claimed he found a 1965 quarter in his father's coin collection that matched the telltale signs of silver. His discovery turned into a life-changing payout. Think about that for a second. A coin that looks just like every other 25-cent piece in your pocket could secretly be worth a fortune. The key is in the details most people overlook. A true 1965 silver quarter will weigh around 6.25 grams, compared to the 5.67 grams of the standard clad version. It will also have a distinctive silver edge, rather than the copper streak you see on modern quarters. And when you drop it on a hard surface, the sound it makes, that bright, ringing ping, is unmistakable. Collectors were stunned when the first one surfaced, but since then, others have been found. Each time, the price soars higher, fueled by the rarity and the legend. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins, knowing that even a single discovery could mean hundreds of thousands or even over $1 million. And here's the real kicker. Because 1965 was the first year of the clad transition, the U.S. Mint produced over 1.8 billion quarters. They're everywhere. Which means hidden among all those ordinary coins could be just one more silver survivor waiting to be found. But the story doesn't stop there. Some 1965 quarters show striking errors that have also commanded massive premiums. Off-center strikes, doubled dies, and other anomalies can easily push values into the tens of thousands. The most dramatic examples, the ones that catch the eye of big auction houses, can completely rewrite the value books. Imagine the heart-pounding moment when a collector, flipping through change at a flea market, suddenly spots something unusual. The edge doesn't look right. The weight feels just a little heavier. And then, with one careful test, they realize they're holding history in their hands. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And that miracle could happen to anyone willing to look closely enough. But here's the twist most people don't know. In 1965, the Mint deliberately removed mint marks from all coins to discourage hoarding. That means every 1965 quarter has no mint mark, whether it came from Philadelphia or Denver. So you can't rely on mint marks here. Instead, you have to rely on your eyes, your scale, and your patience. This is what makes the 1965 Washington quarter so dangerous and so thrilling. To the untrained eye, it looks like nothing. To a collector who knows the secrets, it could be a life-changing discovery. And here's the part that gives goosebumps. Most of these coins are still unaccounted for. Experts believe there are silver 1,965 quarters hiding in collections, in bankrolls, in coffee cans and attics. The next one could appear tomorrow. It could appear tonight. It could appear in your very own pocket. But what happened when one of these coins turned up in pristine condition, a silver strike graded at the highest levels of preservation, is the stuff of legend. The price skyrocketed. The bidding frenzy was unlike anything the auctioneers had seen before. Collectors were shaking as they raised their paddles. And when the gavel finally fell, the coin was gone, into the hands of a private collector who knew he now possessed one of the rarest Washington quarters on earth. The whispers began again. If that coin sold for over $1 million, how many more could be out there? And what price might the next one bring? This is the thrill of coin collecting. It's not just about history, or metal, or mintage numbers. It's about the chance that the smallest detail, the faintest clue, the tiniest mistake from the mint could transform an ordinary object into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Remember these rules. Check the weight. Examine the edge. Listen to the sound. If your 1965 quarter feels heavier, looks silver all the way through, and rings like no other coin in your hand, you may just have the next $1 million discovery, and don't ignore other 1965 quarters either. Doubling, misstrikes, and unusual surfaces can all be signs of hidden value. Coins that collectors once dismissed are now commanding jaw-dropping premiums. Every time you see a 1965 quarter, don't just spend it. Look at it. Feel it. Test it. Because hidden in plain sight could be a fortune waiting for the right eyes to see it. Collectors have built empires on smaller discoveries. And today, someone, somewhere, may be just one coin away from the moment that changes everything. This coin almost ended up being tossed aside as nothing more than spare change. Yet today, it has shocked collectors around the world, selling for sums no one thought possible, up to $1.5 million. And the most unbelievable part? You might already have one hiding in your own pocket right now. The year was 1983. America was in the midst of change, new technology, shifting culture, and coins rolling out of the Philadelphia Mint by the millions. At first glance, they looked ordinary. Just another quarter with George Washington's face. But hidden within those shiny discs was a secret mistake that would change everything. A mistake so rare, so subtle, that even seasoned collectors missed it for decades. One man in Pennsylvania discovered his by accident. He emptied his pockets, glanced down, and noticed something strange, a tiny, almost invisible flaw that didn't match the quarters he'd seen all his life. He thought it was nothing, maybe just wear and tear. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because this wasn't an ordinary 1983 quarter. This was a minting error, a coin born out of the chaotic process of striking millions of quarters at lightning speed. One small slip, one overlooked detail, and history was created. Collectors were shocked when the truth surfaced. What looked like a normal coin was suddenly worth more than a house, more than most people's life savings, a staggering $1 million miracle. But here's where it gets even stranger. The 1983 P Mint Mark Washington quarter has one of the most mysterious backstories in modern coinage. That year, the mint stopped producing mint sets. Collectors who usually bought official, pristine coins to save in albums had nothing to order. Instead, every 1983 quarter was tossed straight into circulation. They were spent, scraped, and lost in the hands of everyday Americans. Which means finding one in perfect condition today is almost impossible. That scarcity alone makes them valuable. But when you add hidden errors into the mix, that's when the price skyrockets into the millions. Imagine holding a coin everyone else ignores. A coin that jingles at the bottom of purses and coffee cans across the country. Yet under the right conditions, a sharp strike, flawless luster, or a rare double die error, this ordinary piece of change transforms into treasure. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these few survivors. The market is exploding, and bidding wars are pushing prices higher and higher, but the story doesn't end there. Some 1983 quarters show doubling on the reverse side, where United States of America or E pluribus unum appears distorted. Others reveal unusual die breaks, extra metal where it shouldn't be, creating odd bumps and cracks. These small details are the difference between 25 cents and $1.5 million. Most people miss them. But the ones who notice? Their lives change forever. Every collector dreams of that moment. The instant when an overlooked coin, one they almost spent on a pack of gum, suddenly becomes the key to a fortune. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another woman, digging through an old jar of coins left by her grandfather, found a flawless 1983 P quarter in mint state condition. When it hit auction, bidders fought like sharks, driving the price into the hundreds of thousands. Stories like these ignite hope that the next discovery could be yours, but here's the cliffhanger most people don't know: the 1983 quarters are some of the hardest to find in top grades. Most were heavily used. They're covered in scratches, dents, and wear. Only a handful escaped that fate, tucked away unknowingly in collections or forgotten drawers. That's why the lucky few that surface today command breathtaking prices. Collectors are willing to pay a premium for perfection, and when perfection meets rarity, the numbers climb into the millions. Now picture this. You're at home, flipping through old change, thinking it's worthless. And then, there it is. The gleam of a 1983 quarter. You pick it up, turn it slowly in the light, and spot something odd: a doubling in the letters, a sharper than usual strike, or perhaps a pristine, untouched surface. That single coin could pay off debts, buy a dream home, or change your family's future forever. Most people never check. They spend these coins every single day without realizing what's in their hands. That's why stories keep emerging of accidental millionaires. People who stumbled upon a 1983 quarter in pocket change, only to learn later that it was worth far more than they ever imagined. First, flip the coin and examine the reverse. Pay close attention to the lettering: United States of America, E pluribus unum, and quarter dollar. Look for signs of doubling, where the letters appear shadowed or blurry. That's a dead giveaway of a double die error. Next, study Washington's profile on the obverse. Sharp details in the hair, the eyes, and the jawline suggest a strong strike, which is rare for this year. Finally, check the overall condition. If it looks almost untouched, with its original luster still blazing, you may be holding one of the rarest survivors. Collectors know these secrets. Dealers whisper about them in hushed tones. Auctions roar with excitement when one of these coins appears. Because every time, the value climbs higher. And the truth is, the next $1 million 1983 quarter could be discovered tomorrow. It could be discovered by you. So the next time you hear coins clinking in your pocket, don't ignore them. Don't assume they're just spare change. Take a closer look. Study every detail. Because this exact quarter, the 1983 P Washington quarter, could be sitting in your drawer right now. And it's worth over $1 million.